live.
Ah,
Hello,
welcome.
hello, hello, and welcome to our Unbecoming Karen live stream. Kristen and Clarissa and I are here to have a conversation about something to do with racial healing and things that are alive for us, and are very excited that you're here to have this conversation or to listen in on the conversation. And um, we encourage you while you're listening to just be very aware of how you're feeling and what it's touching into for you. These conversations are by definition um, activating. And actually, if you get triggered, we can think of it as a good thing because it's pointing to where there's healing. So always, always, always listen to yourself. Take care of yourself. Remember to breathe. We will bring that in when we start feeling activated because we do, right? Um, but in case we're not cueing you, like breathe. If you need to step away, but hang in there because it just means there's deep healing. And that's what we're here for, is the deep healing. And yeah, it's a judgment-free place. There is nothing you could possibly be thinking or feeling that makes you a bad person. And it's like so brave to notice those programmings that we all carry, and to what we desire is a brave space where we get to share those with each other. And that's how we heal them. So that's what we're here for. Did I miss anything? Should we announce, Kristen, our that we're going to be like doing circles once a month?
Yeah, I
Forward?
think we
Yeah.
should. I think we should seed that.
Yeah, so we've been having these conversations, these live streams where the three of us have been talking and there have been comments that we've received, and just been feeling really desirous of having conversations with more white spiritual women. So we're going to start doing a once a month live circle call on Zoom. So we'll be sending out an email about that when we're going to schedule our first one, because we really want to have these conversations and provide a space for you to be held and to do the healing. And it's squirmy work, and we're here for it. And so stay tuned for that. And now I'm going to hand it over to Clarissa because she's got a great topic to bring in. And that's
Mhm,
where we're going to go with the conversation tonight.
mhm.
Yeah, and I would invite as well if at any point we say something that you don't understand that feels like
Yeah.
jargon-y, um, or if there's something that you want to add to the conversation, use that chat feature. We will keep an eye out for comments that come through, whether it's while we're live or after the fact. And we really do want to engage with you and have this be valuable. So if there's a term that you don't understand, feel free to just message us and we will do our best to explain what we're talking about. Or if there's something that you want to add, we would love to hear. So the conversation we are going to dive into today is something that came up over the weekend for me as I was hosting a new moon circle with a dear friend of mine who is um, from Ecuador and New Jersey. So she's Latinx. She is my one of my soul sisters and such a huge gift for me. Her name is Lorena. And for the last year and a half or so, we have been walking together, learning how to be in community with each other, coming from our different racial backgrounds. And so I will sometimes interpret things for her that is like white speak. People, like maybe this is what they were thinking, or maybe this is where it's coming from, where she could use an additional perspective that's coming from a neutral party who um, has done a relative amount of healing and also wants to create like I don't shy away. I usually own my stuff when it comes up. Um, and so I feel like I'm a pretty neutral, open space for her. And then she will call me on stuff that I will do on occasion. And I'm like, thank you so much for mentioning that. Like I hadn't considered that like Colorado native is like potentially something that is appropriation. Like, yes, I was born here in this state and I am not native to here. I mean, I am in the last 40 some years, but I'm not, my people are not. And that is it's a word that is loaded. And so just being mindful, things like that. So we co-hosted this new moon circle, and there were 3 white women there, and Lorena and one other Latinx woman. And one of the white women ended up speaking a lot during the sharing portions. And I I kind of know her, and I was observing and thinking, wow, she must not have opportunities to share. It's really interesting. Like, she must just really need to have an opportunity to voice what is alive inside her. From what I know of her, she's been running a mile a minute, like most of us, and she's been giving and giving and giving. And this is an opportunity for her to take up some space, to be heard, to hear her own thoughts reflected back to her. And it seemed like she really appreciated being there. And it was really supportive for her. That was my read. And then after the conversation, or after the circle, Lorena and I debriefed, and Lorena actually got feedback from her 2 friends who were there. And the woman who's Latinx mentioned that one of the other people took up a lot of space. And so she felt like she didn't get much opportunity to be heard herself. And it, she gets it, but it was also something that she noticed. And Lorena mentioned feeling a little bit triggered by this as well. We also hadn't, we hadn't set boundaries around, like, okay, we're speaking for 2 minutes, or let's just make sure we're being conscientious as we're in circle together. So there are things that we've learned from it, but one of the things that really came from it was, how are we perceiving ourselves when we are in an integrated community? Because we have for so long been segregated. We've done our healing alone, but these are taboo topics that we have not talked about often in our white communities, right? Because they are so scary and so triggering, and no one has equipped us with the skills to talk about these things together. And there often are not places that are perceived as safe spaces to come and be raw and real about the learnings that we are experiencing as we're going through this time of evolution. And then we have not had opportunities to be together in community with multiracial members of our human family, because those are relatively new as well. So we're learning how to do this. And of course, there's going to be like oopsies, and we're going to step on toes. But what a gift to know, as we are in these multiracial spaces, how can we really drop in to our hearts so that we're speaking from a grounded, embodied place? How can we be aware of our brothers and sisters who are sharing the spaces with us, so that we are not silencing ourselves, making ourselves wrong, but fully honoring everybody who's in the room? And so this is kind of what the conversation is about, whatever might come out of this today. And that feels like a lovely place for Kristen to lead us in a little meditation as we drop into the space and see what comes up to prepare us for this.
Yeah, so I'm just going to invite everyone to just take a few breaths. I'm sure that what Clarissa was sharing has already started to bring stuff alive in your body, made you start to think about certain things. Maybe you wanted to respond, or you're like, wait, what this? So I'm just going to invite us all to just like take a breath and just connect in with ourselves here. Just coming into presence, landing in this space, in this time, in this moment, giving ourselves permission to come fully into the here, into the now, right? Calling ourselves back from all of those tasks we've done before now, from all of those tasks that we will do after now. Ooh, just calling ourselves fully into this present moment. And as we take a couple breaths here, I'll just invite us to get a little grounded. So if it feels good, just become aware of, where's your body making contact with the seat that is holding you, with the floor beneath you. Can you let yourself be held a little more, leaning into that seat, letting gravity pull you down a little bit more? Ooh, and if it feels good, maybe you want to send some anchors, some roots, some tendrils down into the earth to just make contact with our only home, this planet Earth, the place where our ancestors have lived, the place where our descendants will live. Just grounding in, feeling that connection, feeling that support. And then from this place, just calling in our guides, our team, any divine beings that want to travel with us, our highest self. And then from this space, I'm just going to invite like a loving energy, like the Reiki, unconditional love, to just really hold all of us in this conversation, trusting that we are fully capable of having these conversations, fully capable of coming into contact with this discomfort, fully capable of moving through the nuance. So just really inviting in this unconditional love to just hold us, hold this whole conversation. Taking a breath here, just feeling held by that energy of love, that Reiki energy, this spiritually wise life force energy that animates us all. And if it feels good, I'll invite you to place a hand on your heart or just come into contact with your heart space, just dropping into your heart so that we can move forward with this conversation from this heart space, right? Not from our mental body of needing to be right, of needing to prove anything, of needing to figure it out, but dropping into our heart, that place of connection, that place of empathy, that place of belonging, just really being led from that place. So stay connected in here with that heart center of yours, that radiant heart center, as you begin to take a few breaths and just become present once again, to the physical space where you inhabit, maybe blinking some light into your eyes, maybe wiggling your body, stretching your body, feeling yourself fully present in the here and now, fully ready and able to move forward with this conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll mention too that just for anybody who's new to this, we'll have this conversation, and then towards the end we'll do like a healing, whatever wants to come through in service to clearing any energy uh, that feels stuck or separating, calling in the future we want to create, which is a future of connection and love, resonance, wholeness. And so if things feel sticky or hard, like Kristen mentioned, just keep leaning into it. And Babs mentioned as well. And then just know that this healing component is coming within the hour. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So I'm curious, Babs or Kristen, as I was relaying that story, what came up for you in your experience as white women healers?
Did you have something, Babs?
I do, yeah. But do
Mm-hmm.
you want to talk? I mean, this is perfect. This is an example of what we're talking about. Who am I deferring to for talking? Like, because I'm one who tends to not talk
Mm,
in spaces. Um, I've grown more used to talking over the past however many years, but like when I've been in in-person group situations, I generally will hang back and
Mm-hmm.
listen and not say anything. Uh, unless it is like a formal timed and I get invited to say something, then I will, So it's a complex thing, right? Because like when I think about the scenario that you described, like I know what that feels like when there's a person in a group that's taken up a lot of this, that is the first one to always want to, they always have something to say, they talk a lot, they take up a lot of the space. And as someone who tends to hang back, I mean, I've been in friend groups before for years where I leave and I think like once again I didn't really say anything. There was a couple of people that were very quick to respond, very quick to answer, and I never inserted myself, like found a space very rarely, So, and that's a sucky place to be, right? Like that's a painful, disconnected place to be where you just feel like because I think my rhythm tends to be slower, than some other people's. Like some people are just fast, right? Somebody asks a question, they're there answering it. Whereas I'm more like kind of, takes me a minute. And then we might be on to the next topic by the time I know even what I wanted to say. So for me, if I'm in a space and I'm saying taking up space, like that's a big thing for me. And that's a healing place for me, right?
Mhm.
And I also recognize, especially through the healing work I've done, in these conversations and what we've been doing, um, there's the whole like silence is complicity thing too, right? So if I'm in, and I mean, this is classic white living, right? The programming of segregation, if you will, where I haven't been in a lot of mixed spaces over the course of my life. Um, so when I am in a space with people of different ethnic heritages or backgrounds, right? Like, um, I think it does require different awareness and sensitivity of the dynamics. And yeah, it's so important that we start learning how to do this together. But if I think about it, like I would imagine if I think about having your friend on for a live stream, right? If we do this together, I wonder how I will feel. Will I feel different than if I'm just here with the two of you? Partly, yes, because I know you both so well, and I'm so comfortable with the flow and all of that. I kind of know how and when to step in and know the rhythm and all. So bringing another person in is going to change the dynamic for me. But um, yeah, I want more of those opportunities to witness myself and see, okay, what happens to me internally when I'm in a space with, you know, different groups of people, different ethnicities. What do I feel like? What does come alive for me? Um, so I think it's a really there's a lot in this conversation that I'm just like I think I'm getting the tip of the iceberg. So I'm really eager to see what you both have to say more about it and because I feel myself nervous right now. I'm
Mhm.
feeling myself kind of nervous. So just want to say
Mhm.
that.
Yeah, I'll say like there feels like so much that's coming in that wants to be said, but what I actually want to presence is more like kind of off of what you were saying, Babs, right? Where so like prior, like past me, right, was very shy, right? I was very shy. And so like similarly, right? Like I didn't want the spotlight on me. I didn't want to share. And if I was sharing, I wasn't sharing vulnerable stuff, right? I was like sharing stuff that made me look smart or made me look like I knew something or made me look whatever, right? So it's like really comfortable being like, well, actually, blah, 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 right? But like actually sharing vulnerable stuff like is still very difficult for me. I tend to like take the more like professional performer and not like get into the weeds. But I can still remember. So you know how like prior to joining Kairos, Jen and Nina did the like I don't even know what they called it, but it was like that 4-day event or whatever. And I didn't go live. I watched the recordings. But I remember there was a day on one of those where they came back from the break and there was an individual who like who was just taking up space, not in a bad way, not in a judgmental way, but like they like whatever had been going on prior to the break, it had brought up a lot. And so they like raised their hand, came off mute, were like crying, showing a lot of emotion, being held, being seen. And I remember part of me felt like irritated, right? Like, how dare you take up space? How dare you? How dare you? I don't know if that was the energy, but you know what I mean? Like, there's a part, but then the other part of me was grieving because I would never let myself do that.
Mm.
Right? Like, I would never give myself permission to pause everything that was happening and ask people to hold me. Right? So, like, and that's like a deeply griefful thing for me. Like, this has been something that's been coming up this season a lot is like, I show up for everyone, but who shows up for me? Right? I hold things for a lot of people, but I don't really know that many people who hold that for me. Right? And like, maybe, okay, great. I can pay a therapist to do that. I can pay a coach to do that. But do I have anyone who just shows up for me out of love, out of kindness, who would put down what they're doing to be like, are you in crisis? I will listen to you while you cry. You know what I mean? Like, and frankly, like, I don't really have that, because I also haven't, like, I don't show up like that. So people don't expect me. Like, people are like, oh, Kristen has stuff together. She doesn't need, like, she's not struggling. You know what I mean? Because I'm really good at hiding all of that. And so I remember going, like, early in my healing journey. So this must have been like 2019, 18, right? So like I went to this in-person like healing, and it was, you know, because you know me, like I've always been really passionate about social justice and the healing. So it was called Southern Leadership Jam. It's put on by this organization called like Yes Empowerment, something like that. And they do these like gatherings all across the world. And so this one was like based in the South. So it's like talking about like, you know, racism and like colonialism, right? And it's multiracial. And this was probably one of the first and only like healing retreats in person that I've gone to. And I remember like it was maybe the second day, and we were in circle, and something, I don't even remember what came up, but like it brought me to tears, right? In front of the whole group. And I was like sobbing, and I felt guilty for sobbing. I felt like I shouldn't be taking up this space. Like I shouldn't be asking these people to hold this for me. Like, who am I to think that my emotions deserve recognition, witnessing, holding? And I'll name that like a couple of the Black people in that space like got up and walked out of the room like while I was like having my moment, right? And like I saw it happening and was like, it's fine, like they don't need to hold me. There's other people here that have the capacity to witness me in what's being moved right now, right? But like that was huge for me to let myself take up that space, to let myself cry like that in front of people that I didn't really know, right? Like it was a very big moment for my healing, right? And right, there are a lot of people, if we just follow a list of the way that we're supposed to act, that would be like white tears, Kristen, no, right? Taking up, no, 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 right? And yet, like that was huge for me to do that. Like I'll never forget that experience, right? Like other things came out of me letting myself like open like that, but like I don't know. I don't have anything else to say except like, you know, this is a really hard topic because we all come to these spaces with different capabilities, with different experiences, with different, you know, and so like, again, right? Like there were people who were like, no, I didn't come here for this. Bye. And they went off and did their own thing. Fine. Right. And at the same time, like, what if I had denied myself that? Because I thought it wasn't appropriate, because the color of my skin tells me what people that look like me have already taken up too much space, so I'm not allowed to. People who look like me have always been centered, so I can't center myself. Like that feels shitty. You know what I mean? And also persons too, like I identify as like a multiracial white woman too. So there is some of that too, right? Of like, yeah, anyway.
Yeah, thank you. So we are officially 3 for 3 with the upbringing of keeping our stuff inside, or being like one of the slower ones to interject. That was like the story of most of my life, 3 decades easily. And so when I started my healing journey 13 years ago, I stepped out of corporate America and into a network marketing gig, which was the last thing I wanted to do, but it ended up being like exactly what I needed because it got me so out of my comfort zone. Um, and in these parties where we would gather, we would have, it was supposed to be like 5 minutes where we would share our story. Mine usually was probably more like 25 minutes or something. And these poor people would just like come and sit, not to listen to me, but then they would be trapped there. And I inadvertently ended up just like needing to spew everything, tell them all about like my evolution that I was in the middle of. And, looking back, I kind of wish I had done it differently, but I also needed that time. I needed that platform because for 3 decades, I had not been able to speak. I had not been given a voice. I had been not given room. I had seen myself as not a priority, as invaluable, meaning like not valuable. Um, and so, unfortunately, for many people who crossed my path at that time, that was just what I needed. And so, what was so interesting was that I was seeing and witnessing this person who was in this space the other day with those eyes. Like, whoa, she does not get held. She is busy all the time holding space for others, and she does not get held. She needs a place for this to come out. I'm so grateful we can hold this space for her. And meanwhile, other people in the space were having a very different experience because of their upbringing and their acculturated experience in this colonizer environment that we are all in. And Kristen, I think you said something really interesting when we were talking about what we would talk about today. And I brought up this topic, which was that white women, and maybe you said just women in general, but women have not been given the space inside the patriarchy. So it's so multi-tiered that we have been shut down as a minority, women, right? So we need places and spaces to find this, our voice. And it is in no way helpful to step on somebody who is learning to speak their truth. However, since it is multi-layered and we are beginning to integrate back into humanhood rather than color, we now have a little bit of added responsibility to be mindful of who else is in the room with us. And could it even serve for us to relate to each other on a different level of I haven't been able to give a voice to my heart, to my thoughts, to my being, and you probably haven't either. So let's move through this together. What would feel good for you? Or something like that, where we are acknowledging the sameness of the experience while also acknowledging the shared history of the roles, the power dynamics, the power over, power under that has historically occurred throughout our lineages, and how we can now cause unintentional harm because of what is in our bodies and our minds. I mean, honestly, I think my friend who was sharing and sharing and sharing, I think a lot of it was that she was just so in her mind rather than being dropped in and really present in her heart, and being attuned to what she needed. And I think I actually got that reflection not from myself, but from Lorena. Um, and so, how can we present and have opportunities to keep learning from each other as we are reintegrating?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Kristen.
Well, and it just makes me also think of like the role of facilitators, like
Yeah.
in those spaces, right? Because like again, I think of like when I am doing like speaking presentations, right, in the schools, and you'll often have like that one student who like is the student who's always raising their hand and always has the answer, right? And it can be really easy to like always just default to that one person who keeps raising their hand. But it's so important for me to like keep the whole class. So if someone starts to look like they want to say something, for me to be like, oh, did someone else want to share? Oh, did someone else want to say something? Or, hey, friend, like we've heard from you a lot. I really appreciate how comfortable you feel here. I'd love to hear from someone else. Does anyone else want to share? Right. And like that kind of thing. Because again, like we're doing the best that we can, right? Like they didn't go in there being like, oh, I'm going to make sure no one else gets to talk and I'm going to be the only one who matters. Like that's not like the intention, right? And like there is that piece of like, and this is whiteness, right? Like whiteness is at the center, right? So we're used to always being at the center. So we function as if we're the center. But what if we put someone else at the center? What if we let someone else be the center? What if we decentered ourselves? Like, I don't know. What does that look like? I don't know.
Yeah, and it's so important. Sorry, Babs, can I
Yeah.
just comment on one thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, thank you. I'm going to center myself for another moment here. But it is so, so critical what you talked about, Kristen, with the role of of the facilitator. Had we been a little more present, and again, I don't want to, I'm not like shooting on ourselves at all. This
Mhm.
was like a beautiful learning experience. But this is an opportunity for us to grow in our leadership, noticing what shows up for us and tending to that as best we can in real time, so that we can be like supremely present with each other and aware of all of the tiers and the elements of what is happening. So continuing to expand, committing to expand our capacity so we can better midwife in this evolution that we're all in.
Yeah, I think that's like as facilitators of a circle, right? It's like stretching our skill sets to be able to manage this kind of thing. I also think about you use the word intentional harm, like intentionally harming, right? Like generally people don't intend to harm.
Right.
Sometimes they do, but usually not, or often not, right? At least not when we're like in circle with each other. And really, when people are really trying and wanting for everybody to have a voice, for all the things, right? So the harms are often unintentional. And I just, think makes me think of like, as white people, like helping each other know when we're unintentionally causing harm.
Mm,
Because I didn't know I was causing harm in ways like I remember one of the women in Kairos when we had those amazing classes with Kertrice Goddard, right?
mhm.
The help me with the name. I'm having
Transcendent
brain
social
fog.
justice.
Transcendent social justice.
Mhm.
Yeah. And one of the women said something about how she always had to contort all her life. She had to contort herself in white spaces. And that I had no idea
Mhm.
that that was a reality for
Mhm.
a woman of color. That was such a like not a slap in the face, but it was an awakening for me of like people have had to, simply because of the color of my skin, people have had to mold themselves to try to navigate and be safe and feel safe because of my unintended harms. You know what I mean? And so, and when I think as a white person, as a white woman, my desire is if I see a white person, like if I'm in a circle space where there's other facilitators, it's not my job to correct some
Mm,
or to
mhm.
maybe it is. Maybe I could like if it's not being corrected by the facilitators, just maybe it would be an opportunity for me to say to somebody at break, you might want to think, here's something that to think about. I don't know. But I feel like that's a really important growth edge for me and for maybe us as white women, right? Is how do we help each other?
Mhm.
Like, no, become aware when
Mhm.
we're unintentionally
Mhm.
doing something.
Mhm.
Um, like I desire for to have people in my life who will do that. Be like, hey, Babs, come here for a second. Like that thing you just did, it actually might have been perceived as this or received in this, like
Mm,
um
Yeah, that's love.
that's love, right? And how to
Mhm.
do it in a loving way, in a not like somebody told me a story the other day, and this is more about sexism and all of that, but it's the same, right? Where she was at her son's baseball game, and there was a man, it was a co-ed, no, it wasn't co-ed, but it was a many ages baseball team or something. And so there was one guy who was a like real leader on the field. She said he was a big black man, actually. And mostly like he was loud and quick to make comments, but most of what he said was really great and really funny. And he, the way he did it, he was very visible on the field. But at one point, he was out in the field, made a catch, like snow cone catch, right? If you're a ball player, where you hardly get it, but it's sticking out of your glove, right? And he came in and he said, what was the phrase he said? Virgin coochie. Ah, virgin coochie, right? And thinking it was funny, thinking this is funny.
Mm.
Ah,
Mhm.
virgin. And this, my friend heard that and was just like, you know. So she approached him after the game. She doesn't know this guy, but she, her son, teenage son, is on the team. She approached him after the game and just basically said, um, that comment you made was actually predatory.
Mm.
And the
Mhm.
way she described the conversation, it was respectful. She started
Mhm.
with like, you're a real leader out there, and a lot of what you were saying was great. And I just want to tell you that that comment you made about Virgin is actually predatory. And think about those girls that are here watching, those sisters, those mothers that are here watching, and they heard you say that. And she did it in such a way that he was kind of like, shit, you're right. I didn't think of that.
Mhm.
And then meanwhile he was
Yeah.
carrying all this stuff and she was like, can I help you carry this? So it
Mhm.
was like a human
Yes.
relational interaction. And it was
Yes.
also like, dude, not okay.
Yeah.
Right? So like, how do we
Well, and it feels
do
like
that
what you're
with each other?
describing, it's like she approached with care,
Mhm.
not with like, I'm going to make you wrong and prove how
Yeah.
I'm right, right?
Yeah.
Because like those two things are really different. Like when it's like, I care about you, like what you said, you're a leader here. Like
Yeah.
people look up to you. Like when you know what I mean? Like that's love. That's
Yeah.
accountability. Like
And it's
that
calling
is,
people into their higher selves, right? Into like,
yes,
I
Mhm.
know you're better than this. And that's what I
exactly.
feel like wanting to help each other be is like, let's be the best for, let's remember our
Mm.
honor. That's what Catrice used to always
Yes.
say, right? Remember your
Mhm.
honor,
Well, and
your
it reminds,
nobility was the word
Yeah.
she would use.
it
Yeah.
reminds me of, so at that same like retreat that I was talking about, there was like a moment when we all like kind of like they did like identity based like breakout groups. Um and so like, we were all in different groups and like the group I was in was like the white folks and we had finished and I was chatting with someone and we were walking back into the building and I had like left something in the main room. So I was like I wanted to go and get it. And I'm chatting with someone, so I'm not paying attention. And another like of the white women like kind of was like, "Hey, wait, stop. Like, don't you see like they're not done in there?" And then like I looked through the window and I saw that like the like black folks who had broken out into that breakout group were in the middle of something. They were still in the middle of something. And it would have been very disruptive for me to like barge in there to like get my thing, right? And at the time, I remember like it brought me to like I had to go and like cry by myself for a little
Mm.
while because it was like
Mhm.
just like my self-perception is a self-perception of someone who is very, very aware and like very, very conscious of the world around me. And like the reminder that like I'm not always that perfect. I'm not always seeing it. I'm not, you know what I mean? Like brought me to tears. And the other thing that I remember from that moment, and like this is my interpretation, right? I can't speak for this woman, but this was how I perceived she like when I started crying and had to like move that, I felt her like look down on me, right? Like her be
Yeah.
like, you must not be doing this work for very long. You
Mm.
must not really be, right? Where it was like I felt very judged by her and it hurt because like I have been doing this work for a while. Like I've been on this like journey for a really long time. And frankly, like I was on the point of my journey that I needed to honor my body, right? Like I needed to let myself cry because I mean, frankly, I used to cry all the time. And then I was called a crybaby in elementary school and was like, I will never cry again. And it wasn't until I started meditating and getting into healing that I would just have like tears streaming down my face. And like, I remember I used to always say, like, oh, that makes me want to cry. And a friend being like, so then why don't you cry? And I'm like, oh, I can do that. But anyway, I just remember like again, it's been so long ago, but like that one experience, I can still just like taste it because like there was some shame associated with like my response being tears, and her kind of being like, "Oh."
Yeah.
You
And it
must
was
be.
like
Yeah.
it felt yucky even though like I'm glad she didn't let me barge in there. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
I'm
Yeah.
very glad about that. And like again, how do we perceive mistakes in each other? How do we perceive imperfection, right? Like are we allowed to make mistakes or is that a judgment on our character? Is that evidence that we aren't really committed to the movement? Or what, you know what I mean? Like, because to me, like part of bringing the healing piece and the like social justice piece together is that like we're making space for whatever needs to come up without
Mhm.
judgment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like, if I need to cry to get that out of my system so I can move on, then I'm going to fucking cry
Yeah.
and get it out of my system. Right. And at the same time, like, some people will perceive my tears and be like, ugh. And I have to just be okay with that.
Right.
I love so much of this. There is a comment too as we were talking. Uh-oh, where'd it go? Here we go. It's talking about like holding up the mirror for each other. And if I had a booger on my face, I'd expect someone to kindly tell me, same, same. And iron sharpens iron. And so as we are more vulnerable with each other, as we're willing to even be that person who says who um, one of the other things Lorena also says, I think maybe she says she got this from somewhere, but is lovingly calling each other in. So not calling each other out, calling each other in, right?
Mm.
So I feel like it comes from the heart. We tune into what wants to come through me. How can I say it? Honoring their nobility, honoring their journey. Likewise, how can we do that with ourselves too? And Kristen, I love that you brought up that element that like this is messy work and we are not gonna nail it. And in fact, we have been trained to not nail it. It's been very scary, and that's why we have shied away from it for generations.
Yeah.
And so, what if we come to this work with everything is happening for a reason? This is all unfolding perfectly for our learning, for our evolution, so that we can see more clearly what we haven't been able to see before. So the more we let ourselves take risks, be vulnerable, and step into these spaces with each other, knowing that we might end up with some egg on our face, but we are doing our best to learn how to do this because it hasn't been done before in lifetimes.
Yeah.
And that it's worth the risk. And spirit is walking with us every moment so that we have what we need in each other, in ourselves, in our intuition, to carve out a new way.
Yeah. One of the things I've been noticing on Instagram is it's funny how things pop up, and I know it's all the algorithm and whatever but one of the things that's been showing up in my feed is Black women asking, like, how do you know, hey, white women, how do you know if you're safe for us? How do we know that you're safe for us? You saying you're safe for us does not make you safe for us, but how do we know? And one of the things that's really standing out for me is like, how do you respond to being corrected
Mm.
or to being called out, right? And so often white people respond with defensiveness, right? Um, and it's like learning, it's a tricky thing, right? Because it depends on, well, I could say this, I'm going to say this, and then I'll see where it goes. Part of me wants to say, well, it depends on how you call me out. If you call me out shamingly or judgingly or cruelly or abusively, then fuck yeah, I'm going to defend myself. You know what I mean? I'm coming out with both, with swinging. Um, Part of me feels justified in that, right? But I also want to be a person who pauses first, gives the benefit of the doubt, recognizes the power in inequities that have been baked into our systems for a long time, right? So therefore, like, okay, if you're cruel towards me, if you're judgmental towards me, whatevs, that's on you. What you're saying is something I can learn from, like you were saying, Clarissa. It's about learning, right? So like the defensiveness that comes up is shame-based, right? Often. Like if we feel like we're a bad person, and that's so much what we talk about, right? Screwing up, doing the thing doesn't make you a bad person, doesn't make me a bad person, even though it feels like shit when somebody points it out to you, right? Like, oh my God, I do think that. Or wow, that did come up in me. Holy shit, I can't believe you know, um, I had an example of that recently with my little great nephew Finn, right? He's almost 4. And he was in school. He's been having a tough time in school. He's just super sensitive, right? And he's just been having a hard time like transitioning into the school day. And he just kind of stands back and he's really kind of tender. And I actually heard myself go, man, this kid's going to have to toughen up. And I was like, that actually was in my mind. And I was like, okay, can't hear you. That's been programmed into you that boys need to toughen up, right? Man up, whatever the thing is. It's like, no, he doesn't. He just needs to learn about himself and how to function in the world, right? So it's they pop up though. They're there, right? Um, but I forget where I was going with all of that. Anyway, lost my train of thought. So I'm going to stop at this station and see what comes up. Yeah.
Yeah, it's also making me think of like, okay, so like what does it look like to try to practice this? You know what I mean? Like, because it's hard. It's hard to like, again, because like some days it's easy, right? Like some days I'm really well tended. I ate, I drink a lot of water. And if you come up to me and tell me, I'm like, oh my gosh, received with love. Thank you. I'll be better. And some days, like I'm tired, I haven't eaten enough, I'm grumpy, and you come up and you come at me, and I'm like, fuck off. I can't believe that you would start to scrutinize me right now. I'm doing all of these things. You know what I mean? And so it's also like that piece of like, this is why we need to be in relationship with each other, right? Because like, it's the relationship aspect that is going to change it. Because frankly, actually, now that I'm saying that, like, I think of like people deep in my community, and it's like they could probably tell me it whenever and I'd receive it because I love them and I respect them. Right. And so, like, some of this is like us building community again, learning to trust each other again, learning to like be vulnerable with each other, to be messy with each other. Right. Like, that's kind of like the thing that's up for like a lot of humanity, especially white folks, right? Is like, and in America, right? Because it's been a strategy of power and dominance to disconnect us from each other, right? Like that is like divide and conquer has been tale as old as time. You know what I mean? And so it's like, how do we fight that? Like we undivide, you know what I mean? We come back together, right? Like, and the other thing I think that's really important to remember, like in this conversation is like not to minimize all of our differences, but we're more alike than we've been led to believe, right? And so like as someone who has been raised in multiracial spaces and is, like not as much, right, because of where I live, but like in multiracial environments, like it is a muscle that you grow, like being around people different than yourself, right? But it's also like doesn't have to be hard. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't have to be scary. It doesn't have to be this like, I don't know, like there's nuance there, like we can definitely like accidentally like, as I said, like cause some harm. And at the same time, like at some point we need to just be like, we all have this shared value. We're all this, here we are together. It doesn't matter what the color of our skin is. And then like move on from there. And I guess the other thing that's really coming up here too is like, sometimes we have to just assume best intentions too, right? Like I am not trying to be the police and police everyone on how they're supposed to behave. That's colonialism. That's colonialism, right? Like if we're going to start like policing each other. And so like some of it is also just like recognizing that like, you know what like I'm thinking of the spaces that I'm in right now. And it's like, people say things sometimes and I don't agree with them, but I don't need to correct them. I don't need to tell them they're wrong. That's fucked up. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, I just have to be like, oh, okay, I don't think that. Or like, just not say anything. And so like, that's also the piece of like working across differences is like, sometimes we don't agree and we don't have to fight with each other to make agreement happen, right? Like paradox exists on planet Earth. Like it's daytime right now and it's nighttime on the other side of the planet. It's springtime right now and it's fall on the other side of the planet, like at the same time, always, So like there is also that like piece of like, I don't know. I don't know how actually to say it, but like collaborating with each other is sometimes just being like, oh, okay, they said that. And then we're going to move on. You know what I mean? Like, because then it becomes like what me telling you that you have to be like me to be acceptable, to be respectful, right? Because that just feels like more assimilation bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Thank you for bringing up that point too. And Lorena said that too. She said, like, I don't want to police people. And like this is my experience. And I was getting this visual of like the little kid walking into the classroom, like kindergarten for the first time. They like hitch up their backpack, they take a deep breath, and they go in, right? So there is that level. And also this work is so these wounds are so deeply embodied in our psyche, in our nervous system, in our wiring. And one of the things that came up right before we hopped on this call was, do we want to start leading a circle that is a white women affinity space where we can come and be messy? We can have spaces where we can vent, where we can ask these questions that are incredibly awkward, that feel like they could be perceived as so offensive that we would never want to ask them around anyone, let alone a person of color who might be harmed further by hearing this, or we might like have something revealed that we do feel shameful about, and we've never been held in a place where we could have that be okay, because Babs, as you always say, we get our stuff honestly, we come by our stuff honestly, right? And so we were tuning into this, and you two came up with this lovely idea of, could we create a circle where once a month we could come together to be held, to release some of this stuff, to be able to speak some of this stuff that has been lingering, or questions that we've had, and be together in the very deep, intentional, connective healing of it, not just the three of us here, but widening our circle to provide opportunities for people. And so I'm really grateful that that came through, and I want to honor that as part of what we can present as a means of healing this stuff. So like letting all of that be felt in the body and moved through the body, and beginning to develop some new skills being in relationship with people regardless of background, lineage. Ooh, with that, I'm noticing the time, and I want to ask, do either of you have anything else that you feel like wants to be said before we drop into our little healing component here at the end?
I guess I just want a presence that like that kind of like having like a white affinity space to deal with like our white stuff like has a long tradition within multiracial organizing spaces, right? So like this isn't like the first, like we're not like the first people suggesting this, right? Like this comes up a lot, that like white people got to deal with their white stuff, and like Black and brown people don't need to be unpacking that for them, right? And so like I just want a presence for folks who are listening, right? Like that this is our work right now, right? As white folks, it's like we need to tend to ourselves and each other. We need to come together and we need to clean up our shit, because we have inherited a legacy of a lot of harm, exploitation, abuse, power imbalances, right? And like for better or worse, right? Like we incarnated into white bodies right now. So this is the mantle that we're being invited to uplift, to work through. And we are totally capable. We're totally capable of doing this. And as a result, like we will be better able to show up for all people, not just, you know what I mean? It's like, yeah.
Yeah, and what I'm learning is you're going to feel better about yourself. Like I didn't know the something shame. I'm not sure what it was exactly that I carried
Mhm.
about all of this. I wasn't just really wasn't aware of it, but it was there, And so the more we've done this, and the more the stuff has been able to come up and be revealed, and like, oh, good Lord, ugh, and be held in a space of, yeah, programming and
Mhm.
doing the embodied work to heal it. I just feel like a closer to the version of myself that I want to be.
Mhm.
Mm.
It's like when white people are like, I'm one of the good ones. A lot of times that comes from a place of trying to convince yourself you are, I think, but there's fear that you're not, so like just bringing that all into alignment, I think we get to do that. Yeah. God
Yeah.
love us all,
Yeah.
just. doing the best we can.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So with that, shall we do a quick
Yeah.
healing something? All right.
Mm-hmm.
Do either of you feel like you have something coming alive for you to start with?
Mm-hmm.
You do, Clarissa? Okay.
I don't even know what it is, but that's a
All right.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And then
There's
we'll
a
just
yes in my
see
throat.
what happens. All right. Cool.
Um, I didn't mention that now I moved into being that person who always is the one who has something to offer. So apparently this is one of those moments as well. Okay, so just taking a moment, if it feels safe for you, letting your eyes drift softly closed or to a soft gaze. Take a moment and just shake your body a little, maybe beginning with your hands, moving up through your elbows, into your shoulders, into your heart space, just kind of shimmying up into your neck and your head, just rolling your head gently, coming back into this body and bringing that shimmy down the spine into your belly, shaking your belly down into your hips as best as you can if you're in a chair. Bumping your thighs up and down on the chair, or shaking them if you're standing or on the ground, letting your knees just kind of shake, your calves and your feet, wiggling your toes, just feeling your feet on the floor, your sits bones on the chair or on the floor, and anchoring that body down into Mother Earth. Letting yourself for a moment just come into harmony with her, breathing in and out, in and out. Letting yourself be held as we are in these conversations that have some triggers in them, that are activating, that are confusing, that are evocative. Seeing if Mother Earth has a message for you as you have entered into this space and been in this conversation. If you're not hearing anything clearly, that's okay. Just letting yourself receive. Maybe extending some gratitude for her always holding you, always holding all of us, holding us particularly through this time of great transformation and evolution, this time of further bloodshed, harm. Just know that she is always available to transmute, that is part of her job, right? Taking the waste that we breathe out, the carbon dioxide, this beautiful system where that actually breathes life into the trees, the plants, transformed back into oxygen for our continued existence. Just extending a thank you for that. Now bringing the awareness back up through your body, opening your channels up above, connecting to your higher self. Hello, higher self. Asking if it has anything to offer to you having come through this conversation. Knowing that sometimes it takes a little bit of practice to receive. It's all good. Bringing any new awarenesses back into your heart space. Feeling your body expand with your breath. Contract back in with the exhale. Asking your body if it has anything for you to know. It has a message for you, any new information for you from this call. And taking any new awareness that you've gained, just tucking that into your heart as well, and letting these continue to work on and with and for you and for the collective. And with that, I turn it over to my sisters.
Yeah, and what's been alive for me, Clarissa, as you were doing that, was this. I could feel myself afraid that I had done something wrong, said something wrong. And it was just bringing me into, that deep fear that I'm a bad person. Um, and I just am aware of how many of us carry that fear, wherever it came from. We all have different stories where it came from, where we might have grown to believe that we were bad as a child, and how deeply embedded in us that can be. And when I went into Mama Earth, the message I got was a phrase from the Desiderata, which is a poem. I can't remember the origin of it, but it was a poster I had when I was in college. And towards the end, it says, "You are a child of the universe." This always makes me want to cry. You are a child of the universe, no less than the trees and the stars. You have a right to be here. And whether or not it is clear to you, no doubt the universe is unfolding as it should. So it just feels like an important kind of message and balm to me here, and also to those of us in this conversation that have that fear of like, oh, I said something that I shouldn't have said, or I did something that I shouldn't have done. And so just in this moment, kind of breathing in that love, that unconditional love that we bring to this space, that we carry, of we all come by our stuff honestly, and we're all doing the best we can. Just breathing that into your body here for a moment, noticing if there's any places in your body that might carry any fear, any tension around this particular wound, and just letting that light of unconditional love from the universe, from Gaia, just be a salve now for that wound. That you are loved, you are lovable. Just letting that energy of love deepen and strengthen and hold you here. And I feel complete.
Just inviting everyone to breathe in again, just really receiving everything that is here for you. Breathing out, releasing, letting go. The phrase that's really alive for me right now is that you don't carry this all on your own. You do not carry this all on your own. Before we were white, we were connected in to the all that is, to the earth, to the rhythms, to the movings of the sky and the stars and the heavens. And at some point, these systems of power and control severed us from our connection to the all that is, from our connection to our lineage, blood of our blood, blood of our choosing. Because frankly, isolation has always been the best tool of abusers. Isolation has always been a surefire way to maintain power and control over us. And so remember, dear one, that you don't carry this all on your own. You are not alone. There are so many ancestors, blood of your blood, blood of your choosing. There are so many light beings, animal allies, so many spirit guides, divine ones, beings of light that are here for you, that want to work with you, that want to support you as you do this work. And so if you haven't already, maybe open yourself up to receiving this support, maybe saying, I'm willing to be supported. I'm willing to hand some of this over. I'm willing to believe that I don't have to carry this all on my own. I'm willing to believe that there are forces bigger, stronger than me that have my back, that are looking out for me, that are looking out for my loved ones, that are making sure that everything will unfold perfectly. That doesn't mean we don't have a role to play. That doesn't mean there isn't stuff for us to do, but that does mean that we don't have to carry it all on our own. So really breathing into that, reclaiming that, right? Because before we were white, we had ancestors that we honored. Before we were white, we had so many ways of getting support, of receiving support, of supporting each other. And so really just allowing those codes to come back online. They live in our DNA, they live in our blood, they live in our bones, they're ours, they've always been ours. No one can take them from us. And so reclaiming them, inviting them back into our life, deciding to live unsevered no more, deciding to live orphaned no more. We are not abandoned here on earth. Our soul family, our ancestors, divine beings of light are here and waiting for us. And I want to remind everyone here that the forces of evil have always remembered how powerful these spirit beings are, and that forces of evil are calling on these forces for their purposes. And so those of us here to do good, we should call on them too. We should remember how powerful we become when we invite in divine support, when we invite in the source of all that is, when we invite in our highest self, our guides, and our ancestors. And so, dear one, you do not walk this path alone. You do not carry this alone. Yeah. Yeah. And that feels complete for me. Is there anything else that either of you feel called to add before I close us out?
No,
Not for
thank
me.
you.
Yeah. So inviting everyone to just take a breath here. Breathing in everything that is yours to carry forth from this moment on. Breathing out anything that isn't yours, anything that doesn't serve you, anything that does not need to be carried forth. Just easy as that, it's gone. And from this place, sending gratitude out. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you to all the support who have been waiting in the wings. Thank you to our teams that are ready and willing to help us when we invite them in. Thanking all of you for joining us in this conversation, for moving through this experience with us, for helping us channel this through, sending gratitude out, and inviting love to fill our communities, to fill our homes, to fill our environment, to fill all the spaces where we may inhabit, all the places we might move through. And with that, feeling ourselves start to disconnect from this quantum healing space, from this collective healing conversation experience, just feeling ourselves call ourselves back, feeling our edges, feeling where we begin and where we end, knowing that even though we have these edges, we are not alone. We have not been abandoned here on this earth plane, but there are so many others walking this journey with us, opening up to receive all of that help. And as you feel ready, just starting to blink some light back into your eyes, become present in your room, just presencing yourself again, looking around. Remember where your body is. Remember where you inhabit. Remember the space you occupy here on Earth. And if it feels good, you can bring some movement into your body as you land here. As we close this healing experience, as we close this healing portal, knowing that we've each received exactly what we needed to receive, releasing all that doesn't serve us. And so it is.
And so it is.
And so it is.
I just yawned my way through the last 10 minutes. It was non-stop. And that is how my system releases. So I don't know if you all felt that too, but
yeah.
I feel like there was a lot of energy moving. So thank you.
I felt that. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you again.
Stay tuned. If you're not on our mailing list yet, there is a in our description, you can subscribe. And soon here we will be sending out information for our first circle and what might what that might all be about.
Yeah, and if you know other folks who would resonate with this conversation, who would resonate with this space, like please share it, right? Like we're stronger together. And really the only way through this is together. All right, friends. Well, bye for now.